What are you writing down over there?
Okay, so what would you call an amphibian cloaking device?
I got nothing.
A ribbit inhibitor.
Welcome to the Elusive History Podcast.
You found us.
We are a hard-to-find history podcast. Harder to find than an unedited photo on social media.
What?
I'm your host, gatherer of grandma skills and blatherer of balderdash.
That was impressive.
Thank you. Lyndsay Burnett.
And I'm your other host, cantaloupe pep talker and stranger waver-adder, Levi Van Scoik.
Okay. No, you really do that, though.
I wave at everybody.
Yeah,
It's my
disconcertingly so.
It's my toxic trait, my green flag. Yeah.
At the top of the show, now, in fact, is where we like to hand out an existential warning. Listen, some of this stuff isn't super good for your mental health, so if you need to take a break and go touch grass, listen, we get it. Some of this stuff can be pretty rough.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Bow, 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 bow.
How's your week been?
My week has been, actually, it has just flown by. I've been writing on the book and growing alfalfa, and I'm a farmer now.
Yeah.
And so I have to do farmer things. I'm looking to buy a pitchfork for my microgreens that I'm growing in the windowsill.
I know, I've seen your search history.
Okay.
Oh. That's your life, but my life has kind of been like standing in the eye of the hurricane and watching chaos swirl right around me.
Oh, I've actually been in the eye of a hurricane. Andrew.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And well, more than a few hurricanes, actually.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's calm, but also disconcerting.
And watching a train wreck. So, yeah. Today, writing on the dusty coattails of last week's episode.
Wait a minute. I wasn't in Andrew. That was the one that I wasn't in, my sisters were in.
You just placed yourself there?
Well, no, they were in Hugo. I was in Andrew. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now that we have that straight.
Yeah, well, there's been so many hurricanes, it's like a whole bunch of one-night stands. You can't really remember all their names. You're like, I have a blurry vision of them,
Okay.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
Okay.
no. I grew up on the West Coast in the desert where
Oh.
hurricanes do not happen, thank God.
I was saying the blurry recollection of past lovers.
Oh, yeah, that. Okay. We're not getting in the Alzheimer's ward yet.
What's that
okay?
you say?
So let's get back to the script.
Oh, right back to the script.
Riding on those dusty coattails of last week's episode on Belgian Jeannie, the madam.
Oh, you mean horrible fucking person? Sorry, I don't like
Yeah.
her. I still don't like her.
Yeah.
My feelings have not changed.
It's okay. I wanted to move our attention a little more north to the battle-born state and birthplace of my amazing husband.
Hell yeah. Nevada.
Nevada.
Now, if you're listening, it's pronounced Nevada, not I can't even fucking say it.
Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
You're not going to offend us by saying duh.
That's just the thing. It's a Spanish word.
Yes.
We're trying to say it the way that they say it, and it's Nevada, not Nevada, or however. I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah.
My mouth is like biologically incapable of saying it the way that, I don't know, Robert Evans says it. Says it. How? Okay,
Look,
first
you
off,
can't
I
diss
wanna
somebody
point-
for saying
and
something
then
when you
say
can't
something
even
like
say words
"sezes."
correctly.
Man.
As you know, my love, Nevada is mineral rich.
Oh yeah.
And the findings of that brought droves of people seeking their fortune in the American Southwest.
We actually have a whole county called Mineral County, which is where I was born. Just for the friend of the pod, Mineral County.
As a matter of fact, you were born up in the area where a lot of these stories kick off.
Oh yeah, yes. I am from the Silver District, if you're familiar. I'm also a downwinder, which is not a gas joke or a fart joke.
No, it's a bomb joke.
It's a bomb joke.
Yeah.
I want a bomb.
Boom.
Yep.
There it is.
A lot of intersectionality in this podcast, both mining history and atomic history.
Exactly. And it's the boom of the people and the minerals that caused the need for a railway line to be made from Las Vegas, Nevada to Tonopah, Nevada.
Wait, are we talking about the TNT?
Yeah.
Oh my, so, okay. I grew up in Tonopah, so this is something I know a lot about.
One of the reasons why I picked this story.
Okay, all right,
because
good.
it's messed up, fascinating, and, well, you've known about it since you were a kid.
Are we going to talk about how people cooled each other off with their mouths?
Hey, don't jump the gun.
Oh, okay.
Giving the story
Or
away.
jump the claim if we're going to do the mining stuff.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, there's a point in this story where people spit on each other to cool each other off. Okay, fine.
So,
Uh-huh.
we're going to start this story off with Francis Marion Smith.
Okay.
He was a rich California mining tycoon and entrepreneur.
Oh, the Borax King.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The 20 Mule Team Borax.
Which, I grew up seeing the ads for 20 Team Borax, like Mule Team Borax, like all over the place when I was a kid. Because all of their crates and everything wound up in Tonopah. Like, a lot of their mining trucks wound up parked around Tonopah.
Didn't at one time they also come in cloth bags like Flour did?
I don't know. I didn't see any of those.
Because I remember my grandma on my dad's side having cloth bag borax with the mule team
it was like
that she
paper.
made into something. I don't remember what.
I think it was paper packaging because I remember something kind of like that too. But we also had like old-timey people in our lives.
Oh, so old-timey, yeah. If you don't know how to do it from scratch, you don't know.
Your grandma might have actually gotten that off of covered wagons because she was a hoarder.
She really was. But yeah, so...
Well, borax don't go bad. It comes out the ground now, you see.
God made it. In 1890, Francis Smith, also known as the Borax King, as we noted before, owned the world's largest borax mine, 11 miles north of Daggett, California.
Oh, right over by Baker.
In the Black Hills of Baker, California.
Baker, by the way, is also named after one of the borax company owners. He was the CEO after Francis Smith.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after finding such a large cache of borax, he started scouting other locations for borax in the Black Mountains, just east of Death Valley.
Look, people need soap.
So I messed that up. The Black Mountains are east of Death Valley, not outside of Baker.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to hold it against you. I hope not. If you do hold it against her, please just try to be more forgiving in your life. You don't want to fly off the handle and rush to judgment.
Look, man, I'm trying to get the facts straight.
Patience is the way to go.
Woosah.
Woosah, hell, just call me a cockroach?
Okay.
All right.
Now, for those of you who have never been there, if the name wasn't enough explanation, Death Valley is hot. For example, it's only the second week of June and it's already 119 degrees.
Yeah.
And the real heat doesn't even hit the valley until the end of July.
Mid-August is when it really... Beginning of August is when it really... The ground catches on fire out here. Yeah.
We're talking 132.
Yeah.
134.
Did you know that where we were when we shot that drone footage of those open graves was also Death Valley?
Yes.
So.
You're one of the corners, yeah.
Okay.
I did know that.
Okay. That's, if you listen to previous pods, I don't know if it made it in there.
I don't know if it did or not. I'm now racking my brain to go, oh, do I have to delete this?
So we flew a drone out over Death Valley around, where was that?
Armagosa Springs.
Armagosa Springs, and we saw open holes. And right around the time that we got those on video, my drone overheated because, again, it's so fucking hot in Death Valley. Yeah. Like, you've never felt heat like this. Like, maybe if you grew up on the Arabian Peninsula, you might have some inkling, you know, on the heat scale, because it's like 127 in the shade, and there's no shade.
And I don't care what they say. Yeah, it's a dry heat. But cells degrade. They start to die. And I don't even remember at what temperature. But it's miserable. It's really bad. So
yeah, anywhere north of Vegas. Vegas itself is super hot. But it's not the hottest place in Nevada. Death Valley is actually it's the hottest place in the United States of America. It used to be the hottest place in the world, I think.
I don't know that
I think
part.
we reclaimed that 2 years ago.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But so let's take a moment, shall we? And imagine the horror of trying to find a shortcut to the gold fields of California and stumbling upon miles and miles of dry desolation. All while you're on horse and buggy. No air conditioning, no paved roads, no gas stops, and not a drop of water in sight.
No, thank you.
That's exactly how Death Valley was found in 1849.
Unsubscribe.
Sounds like one of my personal nightmares, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like a good, fun time to do anything. If you recall from the last episode, we talked about when Jeannie was going from Ash Forks to Rome. And, so there wasn't a lot of suspension back then. As a matter of fact, they broke a lot of those wooden wagon wheels on rocks.
Yep.
So most of the time you spent was in repairs or having ill-tempered horses or
mud
or washed out trails. Like trees falling across the road was a big thing because you couldn't go around it because you're in a buggy, so you have to cut that tree in half and move it. No thank you, unsubscribe.
So Francis has multiple mines, and then he finds the Lila C mine.
Oh yeah.
But you see, he has a problem. His new mine is 130 miles away from the nearest railway.
Right, because at that time, the only one that was available was the one that went to Salt Lake City from L.A., I believe.
The closest was the Santa Fe Railway.
Yep, that's
in Ivanpah, California. Ivanpah, California.
Yeah.
Bringing the mineral from the mine to the railhead was a huge undertaking.
Hence the 20-mule team.
Exactly.
Borax wagons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, over the years, he tried various means to transport his new fortune. Like, he tried using a steam-powered tractor.
Oh, you mean Dinah?
Yes!
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody's in the kitchen with Dinah.
We actually have, or had a reproduction of Dinah in Tonopah's Mining Museum. And I know that because there wasn't a lot of places to go on a field trip in Tonopah. So we all know the Mining Museum very well.
Even just driving by, you can actually see it. So I've seen it myself. But in the desert, these steam-powered tractors needed something. Water.
Oh, yeah. That I could see that issue being an issue.
And that's nowhere to be found in Death Valley.
Well, there's only one place to find water, and that's Ash Meadows.
Right.
Which is where the Devil's Hole is and the famous pupfish.
Exactly.
The only place you can find them on Earth is in this tiny little hole. And it's awesome.
The hole that goes down, they don't know how deep?
Yes, that people died from trying to find out how deep it was, and now there's a fence that you can't, like a cage.
It's completely covered over, but that's beside the point. On top of not having enough water.
I'm just saying it's fascinating because there is this one place in the middle of the desert with all these subterranean fish. Well, that's the other thing. So there's fish out here that have evolved to not have eyes. These cave-dwelling underwater fresh fish. Oh my God. There's also underground rivers here in Nevada, like the Armagosa. And there's fish in it. So, I mean, that just blows my mind. Okay. Sorry.
This area is fascinating. That's one of the reasons why we're covering this with you, because, I don't know, I said why I'm covering this with you is because you know so much about it. And it really, as desolate as it is, it's a fascinating area.
It really is. It really is.
So, not only was the water an issue, but when the season changed out in Death Valley and it rains...
It turns into a gluey mess.
Right.
And it floods.
And Dinah was a big, heavy steel tractor with steel wheels.
Easy.
And it spent more time either broken or stuck in the mud than in production.
But when it did work, it cut the time in half of moving the loads of borax.
But he found it to be a cost loss, basically.
Right.
Because when it was working, it was great, but it didn't work half the time. So good old Francis thought the best course of action...
We should call him Frankie.
Frankie?
Let's call him Frankie. Or Frank. Be frank with him.
So he thought the best course of action would be to lay down a railway that connected with the Santa Fe in Ivanpah and perhaps extend the other end to Tonopah that they were having a huge silver boom with near Tonopah Goldfield Mina, etc. So anyways, Frank decided he wanted to connect his line to Tonopah, where they're having a huge silver boom. Goldfield, Mina, all those places up there.
Rhyolite, yeah.
So Francis incorporated the Tonopah and Tidewater Railroad Company on July 19th, 1904.
Right on.
After considering building his railroad in several locations, he crossed paths with William A. Clark.
Yeah, and the two of them were sitting there, and they're drinking brandy, and so Smith tells Clark that he's been thinking about making like a small gauge railroad to go from his mine to the railroad. And Clark goes, well, hell, I was thinking about making a railroad from Las Vegas to the mining fields up in Tonopah.
Right,
all those.
yeah.
And he said, well, why don't we join forces? So they made a gentleman's agreement.
Right, they
there.
shook hands.
Yeah, and said, yeah, we should just work together. So we'll work on either side and then meet in the middle. Yeah, oh my God.
So Smith gets all excited about the prospects and agrees with Clark over the venture.
Yeah, Clark is a piece of shit, by the way.
He's the one who Clark County is named after, correct? William A. Clark, yeah.
Yeah.
That's him.
Wait, I gotta be specific. There's 12 Clark counties. Okay, yeah.
So, as a side note, by the way, William Andrews Clark was also a senator.
Yes, for Wyoming.
For Wyoming, exactly. Yeah.
There are 12 states in the I'm so sorry. There are 12 counties in the United States of America that are Clark County.
Right, but after different Clarks.
There's too many Clarks.
Right.
There's also Jones County, Johnson County. My God, just too many. It's like the Durant of like everywhere that the railroad is next to. There's so many Durants, and there's Durant counties.
So Clark,
Yeah.
like so many robber barons, he had a double cross up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Clark secretly wanted to build the line to Tonopah himself, and having had second thoughts, at least that's what they say in all of the writings, decided to start the line himself, and allowing a direct competitor of Smith to start a line in the way of Smith's line down in Vegas.
Well, so a less complicated way of saying that was that Clark always intended to fuck Smith over.
Yeah.
See, Clark didn't want to have to grade the railroad all the way to Tonopah. And so what happens is, I don't know if it's in the script or not.
It's just a couple sentences down, yeah.
Okay. I'll let the script tell the story then.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Smith started the grading process in Las Vegas on May 29th. And by mid-July, they had managed to grade 12 miles of railroad bed.
Yeah.
And then stopped.
Yeah.
Because it was too damn hot.
So, okay. So they stopped because it got too hot.
Yeah.
And then?
Clark, being the bastard that he was, after telling Smith about the line, was constantly doing things to hamper Smith's progress. Like raising rates on construction materials or creating an automobile road from Las Vegas to Beatty. And in my opinion, the coup de grace was when Clark openly denied the TNT Railway to connect with Smith's railway.
I don't think that's coup de grace. I think that's more, no.
Coup d'etat?
Yeah, it's more coup d'etat than coup de grace.
Yeah. So Smith, thinking it might be some simple error, tries to get in contact with Clark. But like a coward, Clark evaded Smith successfully by hiding out in Paris.
Right, which was his moniker, the European senator, or what was it, the absentee senator?
The absentee senator, yeah. So this is where Clark gets the great idea to build his own competitive line to Tonopah, causing all sorts of stress for Smith.
No, you should have let me tell the story then.
Oh, you tell the story.
So then what happens is, right, and Clark isn't here. Clark is in Paris. Rewind to the part that I was going to tell you about. So these workers that are working for Smith, right, they're having this big celebration, and then Clark's train backs up and has the caboose right where all the workers are, and the lawyer comes out and reads a cease and desist letter that says, get off you're standing in the way of our production, you need to move off the tracks. So what Clark did was he screwed Smith over. He basically let Smith do all of this grading for the railroad, which was the most expensive part,
right?
Because they have to also bring out people to what's it called?
Survey?
Yeah, you have to bring out survey crews to figure out which the best way is and all that kind of stuff. Smith paid for all of that and paid the workers. And then Clark basically showed up and was like, yo, you guys are in our way. But not Clark. Clark's lawyer showed up and was like, you guys are in our way. You need to move or I'm going to call the cops. And so the workers were like, yo, what the fuck? Right. So they go back to Vegas or LA or wherever, and it takes a while for Smith to be able to get his work crew back. That's one of the reasons it takes so long. But so Smith now, when he comes back, because he wants to stick it to Clark. He's like, fuck this guy. And admittedly, Smith was, of the two men, the better character.
Right. That's not saying much.
That's not saying much.
I do have to say that now that you've added that in, that makes sense, because when Smith was grading, he was also trying to get the railroad ties and the nails that he needed.
Right. And Clark was slowing all that down.
Absolutely got in the way. As a matter of fact,
because he didn't want him to build the railroad before he got there.
Right. So much so that he worked with the Southern Pacific Railway to charge Smith. Clark worked with the Southern Pacific Railway to charge Smith 45 cents per railroad tie, which that comes out to about $100 each railroad tie in today's money.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, okay, you can get your railroad ties out here, but it's going to be insane. So Clark's like, I guess I'll just wait. And that was yet another hamstring.
Clark set him up for the okie doke. So then Smith goes back home, he collects himself, and he's like, you know what? No. I still want this railway, and you know what? I don't need Clark to do it. So he's like, I'm going to build the TNT, but I'm going to make it go all the way to the Tidewater. TNT, Tonopah to Tidewater, meaning it goes all the way to San Diego, which is a stroke of brilliance because that cuts all of the shipping time in half for everything they could want. And that wasn't the way that Clark wanted to go either, because he already had his railway going to L.A.
Right. Opposite direction.
Right.
So... Like you said, he started his railway line in California, working towards Tonopah.
Right.
Yeah. So they did a decent pace at laying down the railway line until they got to Amargosa Canyon. Amargosa. Well, it's written Amargosa,
No, there's Amargosa and then there's Amargosa.
Okay. So
that's the Amargosa River.
But they were in the
Amargosa Valley. Yeah.
Canyon.
Yeah, it's the Amargosa Canyon. It's not the it's the Amargosa Canyon, not the Amargosa Canyon. Amargosa.
Okay, so
which is in Amargosa County.
Which is really confusing, isn't it?
Yes.
So anyways, it's just basically south of Death Valley.
Yeah, it's beautiful, by the way.
It is a gorgeous canyon, but it's also very, very desolate.
And very hot and full of bugs. And the water is bitter, which Amargosa means bitter water.
Bitter water. Yeah, it's a Spanish word. And it's a desolate 3-mile canyon, and in modern times offers a serene yet deserted trail where you can walk through the canyon.
I thought it was a 10-mile canyon.
Nope, looked it up. It's 3.
Oh, well, the railway that they put through was 10 miles, and it wound up being $55,000 a mile.
Right, to get from one end to the other.
But what I'm trying to say is, so it's 3 miles today, like, as it stands now, but when they were going through, the 10 miles you're about to talk about are like the 10 hardest miles that anybody's ever had to do to build a railroad ever. Like, this is one of the worst stories in the history of mankind when it comes to people building railroads.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
So if you go to hike there today, please don't do it in summer. Number one.
Wait until the winter.
People still get heat stroke there.
You can still get heat stroke in the winter.
Bring water no matter what. Anyways.
Yep.
So if you go and hike there, you can see the railroad ties still sticking out of the ground eerily. And it's a stark contrast from the hustle and bustle of Amargosa Valley in 1905.
Now, again, do you think they call it a bustle because women wore bustles back then?
Possibly. There's too much tie over from then till now, and the nuance, I think, might be lost. But
yes,
your point is very valid. So I ran across an article by the Nevada Historical Society that said Amargosa reported 35 lots sold in 3 weeks and found that some of the lots sold for as much as $200. That's $7,126 in today's money for comparison. The allure of striking it rich brought in loads of people, but they also needed human labor to create the railway lines to get their minerals to where it could be manufactured. Mm-hmm. There was estimated to be over 3,000 miners that flooded the area in one single year's time. And as a side note, I have to say I found it hilarious. Some of these towns would up and move in the middle of the night. Like I think it was Goldfield? Rhyolite. Up and moved just out of nowhere. So all of these claims that they paid for, well, that's good as nothing.
Well, that almost always had... so what would happen is a town would pop up. Well, town isn't the right word for it. So...
Tent population?
Yes. So the almost always the two permanent structures in a Nevada town were either the claims and assayer's office and the saloon. Everywhere else was pretty much a tent. Like... you look at pictures of like Tonopah during this time or Goldfield during this time.
They're all canvas tents.
All canvas tents. And that's actually, so they have this thing called a Nevada building or a Nevada shack, which is literally, they would just build a shack around their tents because most people don't know this, but here in Nevada, it gets really fucking cold in the wintertime. It can't, even here in Las Vegas, it snows sometimes. Mm-hmm. But up there in mining country, it got so cold, so they would put pieces of tin or wood around it, and they met sometimes out of bottles and natural-made cement mud that they would build these shacks around.
I've seen those, yeah.
But they would always have a canvas tent inside of them, and they would use the dimensions of the tent to build these cabins.
It's crazy seeing some of these ruins that aren't from that long ago, but boy, do they look like they're ancient.
They look like Roman ruins. And 3,000 miners to that area isn't accounting for how many miners were already there.
Right. And I still need to be very poignant in the idea. Think of how difficult it is to get there.
Yeah.
You're on foot. You're on mule or horseback or train if you're lucky.
Right.
But...
Well, ever since gold was discovered in Sutter's Mill in California... ever since then, people actually went from the Pacific Ocean eastward looking for minerals. And that's when most of these gold strikes were found. Silver, gold, copper. That's when all these strikes were found during this time. And what's funny is there were like thousands and thousands and thousands of prospectors before there was even towns there.
Right.
Like Jim Butler, the guy who founded Tonopah, the legend says he picked up a piece of ore to throw at his donkey,
right.
And he looked at it and it was a chunk of pure silver. I have to state this enough. He was a prospector that lived like miles away. Like there's all kinds of shacks all across Nevada where these prospectors would live long term, well before there was towns established,
like hermits.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's funny too when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Doing God knows what, you can create whatever story you want. And a lot of these people did.
Oh, yeah.
Grandiose stories. I wanna continue this a little bit back to the railroad line because this is the part of the story that just makes me go, oh my God, what?
Is this the cooling people off with their mouths?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Hell yeah.
So Smith, it took him 3 years to lay down the track through the canyon.
Yeah.
And thousands of heads of mule and men to get it done. Unfortunately, during these times, the railroad company wanted to hire all whites, quote unquote, but few would work in the sweltering heat.
Yeah, they refused to work in the sweltering heat. And they were like, well, we need to get this railway done. Who can we hire?
Right. So, speaking of bitter water.
Yeah.
The building of the Amargosa Canyon was treacherously hot, and men kept getting heat stroke.
Yeah.
So the Japanese laborers started spitting water on each other in what they called spit shifts.
There it is. So this is the moment that I've waited for. The spit hath hit the workers. Listen. I just want to point out real quick. Number one, you had half the people spitting water on the other half of the people that were working. Number one, I could not think of a worse possible thing to happen to another human being ever. Because imagine like somebody with like chronic halitosis, or somebody with the worst diet possible, like I don't know, cabbage and coffee with like tonsil stones. That person, after they left the railroad, I guarantee they went on to like invent Listerine. Like the world is a dirty ass place. I can't take it. People have dirty mouths and they don't know it.
Well, and then there's flies and all the extra bugs that are out there.
There
and
are
you're
biting
sticky,
flies in.
but you're not dying of heat stroke. So it's like pick the worst of the
No,
world.
they still
So,
died of heat stroke.
Well,
Because the other thing is you're putting water in your mouth and you're spitting it on people. It's already warm because it's outside, but then it's also, you raise it to the temperature of 98.6 degrees and then you spit it on people on a hot day. You're not really... Listen, as soon as the evaporative quality of that goes away, because who's spitting on the spitters? Who cuts the barber's hair?
they're in
How do
but
vampires
they're in
shave?
shifts. And the spitters then have to go work to get spit on.
Right.
They don't get spit on while they're spitting.
So they could faint while they're spitting, is what I'm trying to say. You're not slowing... Also, I want to point out, sprinklers have been invented. Like, the garden hose has been invented by this time.
Oh yeah, no. Also, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Atomizers, the precursors to the spray bottles.
I actually won a science fair by making a homemade atomizer. Go ahead, I'm so
Yeah?
sorry. Yeah, in 4th grade. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say something stupid about when it was made.
Yeah.
It was invented in 1887.
Yeah.
We're talking like 40 year. Wait, I can't do the math. 1887 to we're in 1907 where they're being spit on.
Yeah, the technology exists.
30 years?
Well, okay, if you want to go all the way back, Romans had sprinklers.
I know this is a sound medium. I'm just flabbergasted. Like, the things that we do to each other is stupid.
Yeah, stupid. So, like, let's cool them off. Look, there's a river right there, guys. Like,
And not to mention, hey, we're going to work year round.
water pumps have existed since... Oh, my God. They had water pumps in Babylon. They had... Like, this is the dumb. It's so stupid.
And the work for these men started at sunup and
Yeah.
ended sundown.
Yeah, it's 6 days a week.
And if we're talking summer, that's what, 14 hours during the day?
Yeah, because the sun comes up real early around these parts. Mm-hmm. Like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and it gets hot by 8.
So that insane day, and then they work 15 days on, 15 days off.
No. That was the Mexican workers brought in from L.A.
Oh, that was not the
No.
Oh, that was only...
They worked 6 days a week until it was completed, until all of them went home.
There's 7 days in a week.
They worked 6 days a week.
Oh, so they got one off.
They were because the railroad people were trying to convert a lot of them to Christianity, so they said you can have church off. Dude, this is a fucked up story for all of the immigrants involved that they brought in. And so basically they hired Japanese workers, they hired Mexican workers, and then also they utilized a lot of Irish workers. They took advantage of this immigrant workforce, and they just did terrible things to them.
The American caste system. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oof.
Treated them less than animals. It's really disgusting. And the camps for the railroad workers were just
Terrible.
equally as insane. So we did talk about the canvas tents, right?
Yes.
But can I please talk about a couple other things in this camp that I was
Sure.
like, dude, what? Okay, so in this railroad camp, they had 7 different areas all the way through once it got done, right? 7 different camps.
Camp locations. Yeah.
Right.
So like they had an advanced camp where people were blasting and breaking away rock. They had another one where they were setting track. They had another one where they were surveying. Yeah.
Yes. But from what I understand, they had one food tent.
Yes.
For all of these camps.
That's right.
And these food tents were worked on a first come, first served basis. So you work from sun up to sundown, busting your ass, and then you have to go stand in line
Right.
to go eat.
And then they run out of food. What do you do?
And not only that, like, okay, you're tired, you're hot, you're sweaty, it's still hot. You have to stand there.
Yeah.
And then nobody's taking a bath because there's no water.
Well, there's the river.
All of this just sounds like a nightmare.
And then they also depopulated the area of a whole bunch of animals because they went and hunted a lot of the food that they couldn't find. Yeah.
What I actually saw for this line specifically, they had 2 meat deliveries a
Yeah,
week.
A week, and that wasn't enough to keep up.
And not only that, it was imperative. So, like, real quick, okay? After digging through the hillside.
Well, they would make these things called cuts, where they'd slice through the big V-like channels in the landscape.
Mm-hmm. With a hammer and an anvil.
Mm-hmm. And dynamite.
Right, but specifically what I was reading from this, they didn't have as much dynamite as they did hammer and anvil.
That's right.
So
it was almost all elbow grease.
They forced men to work in teams, and they removed 120 inches of hard rock a day per person.
I want to rock. Hard rock.
Right? Or I'm sorry, not per person, just 120 inches of hard rock a day, period. So they had to stand in line and wait to get food. No water to bathe. None of that. Because apparently this was the time when people were afraid to catch their death of cold in them old days. But that's beside the point. All that hard work, and the laborers were paid $2 a day.
That's not enough.
No. You know what it is in today's money?
What is that?
$66.71 a day.
That's not enough.
No. So, in these camps...
Hey, you want to go, listen, the pamphlet for this. So, do you crave adventure?
Yeah,
Do you want to go and see land where nobody's put their feet before?
Boy, howdy.
Do you want to go die of thirst in the middle of the hottest place in the country?
Now, hold on.
No. Okay, so that's the part we take off of the brochure.
There we go.
Do you enjoy the idea of spitting on people? Yeah. Fuck, yeah.
Well, it was that time. Yeah,
it
sure.
was that time.
Yeah.
Am I mad at them? Oh, you know what?
I don't have to be mad. Screw it.
It doesn't matter. This is better than therapy.
Tui.
So you put that on a pamphlet and you send it out, like especially like Chicago and New York, very big spitting cities. By the way, I've been there firsthand. Big spitters, a lot of spitters. A lot of people have a lot of practice spitting.
That's what spittoons are for.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Ting.
right. So you get those spitters, and specifically you come out and be like, hey, you guys want to be air conditioners? You know what? I've always wanted to change the environment. Call back to history of weathermakers. You know.
I can just see a pirate. I've been practicing every day. I'm real good at that. Look. Yeah. Boy, howdy. Oh, my God.
That's how you get people to go to... Actually, you just say, hey, are you poor? Do you need money? Are you tired of starving in a tenement? Would you rather starve in a tent? Well, come on down.
Would you like your loved ones to wonder where you are?
Oh, my God. So, I don't want to just... jump the gun here, or jump the claim again, but I've been working on an episode with you that we're going to be covering like next week or the week
you
after.
Put it in there?
No, about the medicine.
Oh.
Because the amount of people that died of laudanum on this railroad also just...
So this is going to be a part two. This is going to be a two-parter, but we may have to stop in between the parts.
And just because, oh my God.
The things that we found so far is...
I fell down a rabbit hole, and... So we want to do Wild West medicine. The Messy West, as I've been calling it in my brain.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, speaking of messy.
And snake oil.
So you know how armies, they say it travels on their stomach?
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
These camps weren't that different.
Right.
So and in these days, the quality of the food and the cooking skills of the cook was paramount to keeping workers there and happy.
Yeah.
So Cahill was one of the overseers of the venture.
Yeah.
And he wrote to Smith once, "This man is an apology for a cook. The men are complaining. Send us a good man."
That man was Long John Silver.
It smells fishy.
No, that's Black Sails. That's a whole different thing.
No, okay. Not the Long John Silver's, the restaurant.
Well,
chain.
that's who they're named after.
Oh, that's why I thought it smelled fishy.
The legendary horrible cook, pirate cook. Pirate cook.
Cow.
Pirate cooker.
I don't know why I thought of that. Anyways, okay. Also, another reason for the quick turnover of the laborers was that men got what they said is gold fever.
Yeah, and they didn't have penicillin back then. So, like, a fever could take you out. Like you get if you get that sweat on your skin in the Nevada night, this chilly air, you ain't gonna last. There's the gold fever is. There's also another one called yellow fever, which is nothing.
No,
to
it's
laugh
not
at.
the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's different kind of gold. It's gold.
Gold. Is that weird?
Yes, that's weird. So yeah, because it's easier to go and hunt your own fortune in the hills with the donkey than have to deal with people, I don't know, spitting on you for survival.
Well, joke's on them because most prospectors died penniless. Because
so did the railroad laborers.
Actually, no. You would be wrong there.
Would I? Okay.
Because an entire chunk of San Francisco got built up from these railroad workers. Hold on, don't get ahead of me. That built up an entire section of San Francisco with the earnings that they earned working on the railroad, and it became almost a city, a place that we now call Chinatown.
Huh.
That's where all of that money came from.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. That's why they did what they did, because they were able to carve out a whole portion of destiny for themselves in this country, literally by pulling stone by stone out of the landscape to make it happen.
By sheer blood, sweat, and tears.
I don't know if this is veiled or not, but I respect the shit out of the immigrant workers that work the railroads.
Yeah.
Not only is there an entire food group that they like an entire food type that they invented that we call Chinese food, which is not Chinese at all. Like, when people say more American than apple pie, they should say more American than A. Fu Young and fortune cookies.
Yeah.
Because literally both are American inventions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Created so that white people would eat their food.
Well, they had trouble making food palatable. We were just talking about how, like, the cooks was an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a Chinese cook, they were using things like saffron and garlic in a way that, or citrus fruits that nobody was using.
And by the way, the reason why I said that is because people were incredibly racist.
Yes.
And didn't even want to be in the presence of somebody that wasn't the same color of them sometimes, let alone eat their food.
There was an entire government act that passed that was a law during this time called the Chinese Exclusionary Act. And you want to talk about draconian. Like, oh, God, it makes me so mad. Like,
we'll have to cover that one at some point as
well. I go into it, we go into it a little bit in the Messy West medical one, because snake oil is real-ass medicine.
We'll just leave that one there. You'll have to listen to the next one, but yeah.
And, I'm just saying, their donation to the culture, like their addition of the culture to the Wild West culture, is probably one of the most unsung. The westward expansion could not have happened without these immigrant workers. Could not have happened. And they did so while being demonized.
Yeah.
While being sometimes chased out of their homes and beaten to death.
Yeah.
Like, it was a scary place for these people, and they still fought to come here. Like, the trip was just terrible.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you saying all of that. I really do, because, like you said, it's not spoken about enough.
Yeah.
And we're trying in this history podcast to give a broadside to all of it. And one of the things, if I might, that I found really difficult in looking up the TNT Railway is absolutely there was Smith's side and Clark's side, and
but not the workers'
you had
side.
Quotes of all of the not the workers. As a matter of fact, it was impossible for me to even find out how many people died.
Yeah, those you know why? It's because they wanted to keep those numbers from the board that was in San Francisco.
I think it's a travesty, because that is part of this process that happened.
Yeah.
And those people gave their lives to create something that now is not even in existence.
And they are completely lost to history.
Exactly.
That's really
sad. They were
sad.
used as chattel. And for what?
But isn't that the story of history? I mean,
especially America.
The people that built the pyramids, the people that built the Great Wall, the people that built the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just saying.
So, back to the rock work in the canyon.
Terrible, horrible, backbreaking work.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I had said before, they had to use the anvil and hammer, and they averaged, on average, 3,500 cubic feet of earth was moved a day.
By the entire workforce, yeah.
Yeah. The Goldfield News reported, men died off like flies. Some men will have died for the greater good, and the rest fled from the death pit.
Yeah.
Not real rousing endorsement to bring fresh workers to your camp, you know?
Well, they haven't seen the flyer yet. It's all
Right,
about spitting. It's about the cooling people off with your mouth.
Step right up. But then the summer heat went away and the progress started to pick up
That's because now the white workers were willing to come in and work. Finally, now that all the hard work had been done in the hot-ass months, as soon as it started snowing, they're like, hey, yeah, we'll come in and do it.
By the time the true laborers got the work done, then,
Yeah. Sorry.
So in November 22nd of 1906, it started to snow.
Heavily.
Cahill wrote, "It's been snowing heavily here all day. This is something unusual. There is now about 4.5 inches on the ground, and it keeps snowing."
So here in Nevada, we get these very special, like, little snowstorms called blizzards.
Flurries.
Well, so in places where there's forest and you get a blizzard, you know what happens is the topsoil kind of soaks it up. There's moss and trees and shit. In the desert, first it turns into a frozen, gluey mess. Because there's a lot of clay. There's a lot of alluvial clay.
Well, because most of this area used to be under the ocean.
Used to be a seabed, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very salt-rich. It's very, not much grows in it.
Right, but not only does not much grow in it, but when it gets wet, it turns into just a quagmire. Like
a clay, cakey, mud, nasty...
And when all of your transportation that isn't rail is based on either hooves or wagon wheels to get stuff there, like, you're not moving anything. So a snowstorm is the worst thing you want.
So that happened in November, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then December comes around.
Yes, where it floods.
And the rain came down in torrents, slowed the progress even further.
Oh, God.
Here's I'd like to have you talk about
Silver Lake?
Yes.
Oh my God. So they decided to build a railroad across a dry lake because, well, it's dry. There's never going to be water here. And
it looks totally desolate.
It looks totally desolate. Now, those people that did not grow up in Mad Max world like we did, we have these things called dry lake beds, and they're just like sand for like miles. And you think, oh, this is the driest place on earth. It's never going to get wet here. But that's a misnomer. This is where the water collects in the desert, which is why it's sandy. So they're trying to build this track across, and they ask some of the natives of the area, like, oh, is this a good place to build? And they said, no.
No, negative Ghost Rider.
Rain come once, rain come again, they said. Or water come once, water come again. And they were like, yeah, whatever. Go back to your long hut or whatever and let us do our fucking work. So then it floods.
The audacity of these white people, man.
Not once, but twice, and they had to move the fucking railroad tracks back to where the original natives said they should move it.
So something similar to that happened while they were trying to get through this valley. So when the rain came, it started to bury the train tracks in there as well. So they're trying to get through solid rock and fighting this rain all at the same time.
And working in one of these floods is not possible.
It's insane. If you guys don't know what it's like seeing what is the word?
A flash flood?
Is it a derecho that they use around here where it comes in real quick? Anyways, yeah, a flash flood. But
derecho. I don't know about no derechos.
Anyways,
I know about our haboobs.
So in January of 1908...
Wait, are we going back to the derecho?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm skipping right over that.
Okay, listen. It rains. As a mole person, listen, if you want to go back to one of our original episodes, thank you. It floods here like more than you would expect. Like it's something out of the Bible, the way it floods here.
Because the soil doesn't soak up the water.
Right.
So the water gathers up and then runs.
It runs very quickly downhill, faster than cars. Because they get floated down the river.
That's a bad comparison, but anyways.
Cars get washed out of the streets here all the time because people...
That's true. That's true. People drive through thinking, "Oh, I can make it." Then their car goes down the river.
It's worse in Phoenix because, like, they actually
so much worse.
Yeah, because now we have a whole bunch of callback to the Mole People episode. We have a series of tunnels under the city and in the desert out there, in even Amargosa Valley. They have flood deterrent tunnels. Yeah, just. I don't know.
They definitely figured out their drainage system a little bit better than Phoenix did. But so in January of 1908, Cahill wrote, "We expect to be out of the canyon in 6 weeks."
Is this the first time he says 6 weeks? Because
yes.
Okay, so folks at home, keep account of how many times he said.
I'm not even going to put it in there. I go ahead.
Okay, so he told him no less than 7 times.
Cahill told Smith.
Yes, no less than 7 times that they were going to be out of there in 6 weeks.
Almost exact same thing. We expect to be out in 6 weeks.
We expect to be out in 6 weeks. And then finally, they got out in May, which is not 6 weeks.
No, I was going to say, my math is bad, Morty, but January to May is not 6 weeks.
No.
That's 5 months.
That's a lot of weeks.
So it took 1,000 head of horses.
Wait, they had to sacrifice horses?
Oh, look.
The heads of
in
horses?
In a roundabout way.
Bring me their heads. Okay. Horse murder, friend of the pot. No, not...
No,
okay.
no.
But call back to the first episodes when we talk about horse murder.
Yeah.
With dioxin.
This is slightly different, but they still did work them to death.
They worked them to death.
It took 1,000 head of horses and 1,100 men to lay less than 10 miles in 10 months.
Doesn't that kind of sound like something from Game of Thrones? Like...
I was going to say...
Like the wall?
I was going to say it sounds like one of those word math problems.
The worst one in history.
Right. It cost it cost 55,000 per mile when it was finished. That's around $1,892,990 in today's dollars.
I would have just said $2 million. It's close to $2 million.
Per mile.
Per mile.
And they did 10.
They did 10 miles. I told you it was 10 miles.
Talk about the sinking railway lines. Oh my God.
Well, it wasn't just that. So then they still had, and spoiler alerts for part 2, they still had a bunch of desert to cross. A bunch of stuff. But that's where the story really gets... I can't wait.
And that's why I'm saving it to part 2. Yeah.
I can't wait till we get to the Queen of the Desert.
Because there's so much fuckery. Yeah, that's why I thought this would be a really good stopping point.
Oh, that is an amazing stopping point, because there's a lot left of this story. My favorite part of the story, though, that I grew up hearing was the spitting on people. Like the cooling off people with their mouth, which is...
And how difficult it was to even find that as an archaeological or a historical aspect. It was difficult.
Yeah.
One of the things I find fascinating, because I don't have a history major, we're not paid to do this. This is just something we find fun, right?
Mm-hmm. This is our idea of fun.
Right. It's looking at historical paperwork, whether it be from, gazettes or papers or autobiographies, and noticing the tilt on how often they glorified these people that had way too much fucking money. Like, can I just for a second talk about Smith did something that made me go, "Oh, you rich bastard." He is a nice guy,
comparatively to Clark.
Comparatively, so Smith came out to the territories to find his fortune in mining, right?
Mm-hmm. Lived on a salt flat.
He and his brother made their first shack, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember where. He had that shack transported to his house that he built. This
I thought it was
massive.
Ludlow.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Ludlow, California.
I think so.
Yeah, he had the shack taken there to this mass, where he had it like. I don't want to say... enshrined. I was going to say entombed. That's the wrong one. But enshrined is the word, right?
Which is going to come into the story later.
But the fact... I'm like... Part of me is like, oh, a little bit of history. But also, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's the amount of money, time, energy it took to move a shack that he built however many years before. And you're paying your workers $66 a day in our time.
He named his 2 railroads after his first and middle name. This was... kind of a narcissist.
Kind of. All of them are. Like we said, I don't know how many elusive, harder to find than a moral billionaire.
Yeah. God, and that,
You know,
sure.
and that goes on throughout history.
Well,
but
robber barons were not good people. There's not one good robber baron. There's not like a story of like this guy was just so he did it for the people. There's not one of those stories.
But they do try very hard to bend it that way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's look at it this way. We wouldn't have Las Vegas if it wasn't for railroads, railway workers. Like, we would not have Salt Lake City. We would not have Flagstaff. We would not have Albuquerque.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking over the time that, you know, white men came across to now, we've traded from one cartel to the next, to the next, to the next. Like, basically cartels. Like, you got the robber barons coming in here and holding hostage. And then you had
speculators.
Then the
real
mob
estate.
people came in.
Oh, that was much later.
I'm just saying, like, these areas, when one vacuum power goes out, another one rises.
Power vacuums get filled.
But they're always the same system, just different names.
That's what we're comfortable with.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But hopefully by sharing this through our history podcast, maybe it'll open one or two people's ears to going, wait a minute. I don't know. Maybe that's too grandiose of an idea.
Did you just fucking hear that?
What?
I thought I heard the chains of the ghost of capitalism present.
Rattling. I think you're right. We gotta pay those bills. We'll be back.
And we're back.
Welcome back.
Still waiting to hear from future Ghost of Capitalism, or the Ghost of Capitalism future.
There we go.
We're very, very comfortable with capitalism past. I mean, we made a whole podcast about it.
Oh, good old friend.
Pod.
Totally.
Friend of the pod. Ghost of Capitalism past.
I think they rattle in the closet constantly.
Well, if you throw them money, they tend to go away. Like, and it's not even, you don't even have to throw like a lot of money. It's like, you know, like a handful of nickels.
Oh, you definitely have to do that, or else they get in cahoots with other spirits, and like the pipe demons start summoning other things, and then
Those water ninjas, you know, the ones that like form a spit to try and kill you.
Are you really?
You know the ones.
You mean the things I choke on all the time?
All the time.
No.
So I make this joke with her at home that there's somebody that like is part of the Water Ninjas clan that has a contract out on her life because water, you watch out. She's choked on water so many times.
I can't drink it right. I either accidentally gleek it out of the straw, or I pour it on myself, or I choke on it.
But she refuses to drink soda, and if she did, I could say she has a real Coke problem.
No.
Because she'd be spilling it on herself and choking on it and all
How'd she
that.
die of Coke?
She's got a real water problem. Doesn't really have the same...
Not the same gravitas, huh?
Yeah. Cujo had a real water problem because rabies is also known as hydrophobia.
Sir.
Okay. Also, the fear of the dark is called nyctophobia. But, and this one's my own addition, a fear of Wolverine should be called snictophobia. So, you could just take that with you.
Just teaching people left and right random shit they don't need to know, but definitely should hold in their arsenal.
Yes, snictophobia. Put it in the dictionary.
Snicked.
Snicked.
A phobia. So is it time for karma?
It's always time for karma. But do you mean, is it time for the karmic suggestion box?
That one.
Bum, bum, bum. Yes. Probably. I think it's that part of the show.
So,
So this is the part of the show that we call the karmic suggestion box,
yes,
where we like to entreat karma to fill in the gaps of justice.
Yes.
And to bring about justice in whimsical, hopefully whimsical and fun ways. You know, and it's not like we're saying, karma, go do this. We're just asking karma, like a suggestion box. And then what we like to do is flip around and do a Crazy Ivan.
That one.
Where we like to, reach out to karma and ask them to do something good for somebody who is doing good.
The yin-yang of the karma coin, if you will.
Like a salt shaker. No, that's the twins.
Oh, hey.
All right.
She's showing her age.
She's
Stop
soaking
it.
wet. What?
Stop it.
Okay. Ooh, I want to go first.
Okay.
I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but do you know those ads on Hulu specifically that make you choose what kind of ad you want to watch?
Yeah, I'm always confused as when they show up as why they're asking me questions.
Oh my God. First off, there's like a 15-second timer, right? So, like, if you don't push a button, you have to wait for the commercial to start.
Let me tell you, my pathological demand avoidance, my PDA is so strong, I'm like, nope, I ain't touching shit. You can play your time out. Nope, but you choose for me.
I was watching shows on Hulu last night,
Yeah.
and I actually saw that the 15 seconds that they make you select the ad doesn't take away from the 2 minutes of the ad time that they put up. So it's an extra 15 seconds that they've carved out. You know,
Just
like
to get your attention.
like in Superman 4, where they use like the computer virus to just take the little bits of the pennies, the fractions of the pennies, so that they make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like that. They found a way of stealing our time.
In the attention economy.
Fuck
bastards.
those people. So,
Fuck them in particular.
ever freaking can't... Wait, did you change fucking to freaking?
I think the computer did that.
Okay. Whoever fucking came up with this should get permanent halitosis.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
never ending. Like, and they shouldn't have to work on a railroad. If you have permanent halitosis...
Please don't go spit on it.
Do not cool anybody off with your mouth if
No.
you have halitosis.
No.
Please use Listerine first, or actually Listerine started as a floor cleaner. Not the best thing to put in your mouth.
Not the best thing.
But clean your mouth.
So for my karma of justice, this has nothing to do with railroads and more to do with cartels playing tycoons. Have you...
So it's just a different kind of railroad.
Just kind of like what I said before, when the power vacuum goes away, something else rises up. Well, have you heard about the FBI raiding the rental management company for basically price fixing 75% of the rentals in Atlanta?
Wait, those were corporate rentals, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, not... Okay, specific. I want to specify here, what she's talking about isn't home rentals.
No.
She's talking about corporate rentals.
Right. But that is tied to this company called RealPage that is with apartment rentals that are corporate owned. Okay?
Yeah, corporate apartment housing.
So corporate apartment housing that is 75% of... also, Phoenix, Arizona is another one. So they're the reasons why we were priced out of Arizona and had to move.
Right.
So this software... They contracted with rental companies across the country, by the way. So, Karma...
So the software called RealPage.
RealPage,
Yeah.
yes.
That basically made a monopoly for the property owners.
Exactly.
Which is illegal.
Illegal.
By the way.
It has to be when there is vacancies in apartments, the prices have to go down.
There has to be competition
Right.
or else it's a monopoly.
Right. It has to be a free market. What they did is they took that out.
Even though it's for corporate rentals, it's still a monopoly, it's still illegal, and it's still greedy as fuck, and fuck those people.
Exactly. So, Karma... May they get locked into 50% of the rooms they enter.
Awesome.
So much so that they have to keep a locksmith on speed dial with an air tag. So let it be written.
So let it be done.
So let it be done.
Awesome.
I'm just getting so sick and tired of these people who we glorify money and they're hoarding. Like, it's something to be deified. It's disgusting.
It's mental illness.
It's mental illness. When we're literally making it illegal for people to be homeless.
Right. Well, when you do it with money, you're a moral savior. When you do it with old magazines and diapers, they make a show about you on the TLC.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Hoarding is hoarding.
Doesn't matter
it's
what
not
the
healthy.
material is.
I like to call it dragon sickness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So... Now's the time where we crazy Ivan whoop, flip around.
There it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was getting there. So, while we flip around and ask Karma for the positive.
To do something good for somebody who's doing good.
Exactly. So, for my Karma, I ask that Karma look favorably on my neighbor and her 2 beautiful kids. Life has been really hard for them, and I ask that Karma act as a hand parting the clouds so they get to see a little bit of light.
Also, money should fall from the sky in their presence.
Just not on them, just in their presence.
Well, the kind that folds, not the kind that jingles, because you can get some serious head trauma from falling coins.
Exactly.
That's why you're not allowed to throw change off the Empire State Building, or the Sears Tower for that matter.
Side note.
Wow. Yeah, it kills people.
It kills people,
Carl!
Okay.
And for my good karma, anyone who feeds hungry animals should win the lottery at least once.
Heck yes!
That's my good karma for.
So let it be written.
So let it be written and done.
Spread that money around.
She's soaking wet. Shaking like a salt shaker. That's stuck in my head now.
You did it to yourself.
Well.
Echolalia.
Anyways. So, at the end of the show, we always like to, leave you with good vibes.
Yep.
The best vibes.
Positive feelings.
Flying carpet vibes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What?
Oh, no, that'll work.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a magic carpet ride.
Even if it's just the Steppenwolf song. Which is also recommend, by the way.
I was going Disney and you went the other way, so.
Well, he actually kidnapped her. Like, if you watch it again, he kidnapped her. Like,
Are you gonna traumatize me with one of my favorite Disney movies?
it's fine. I mean, he did take her out of the zone where she was allowed to be taken. I mean, where her parents, would have allowed her to leave from.
Oh, you're a runaway? I'm a street urchin. Come on, let's go love each other. Now we need to end this because you're breaking my head.
As a learned street urchin myself.
Sir.
What? Just saying. Aladdin knew what he did. He was like, yo, I'm going to take her to a second location in a different jurisdiction. What would you call that? That's a kidnapping.
I'm going to have to go cry.
She was a child.
I'm going to have to go cry in the closet with the capitalism chains. Raja, no!
Raja, no! So we'd like to leave you with flying carpet vibes, but not to kidnap a minor to take to a different country for the purposes of having...
so dark!
Is that not the definition of sex trafficking?
Oh, this is why people get angry when they're an adult, because they realize the undertows of shit, and they're like, fuck this!
That's why she had a tiger, so that people couldn't sex traffic her.
So until next week.
Like to leave you, keep your head on a swivel. If you get arrested.
Positive vibes. Oh, wait, yeah. You don't know nothing.
Up. You don't know nothing.
Lawyer.
Phone call. The only words you need to say. And, of course, say yes that you understand the Miranda rights, because then they'll start hitting you until you say yes.
This is America.
This is America. Keep your head on a swivel. And as always, stay elusive. Elusive History was written by Lyndsay Burnett. Edited by Lyndsay Burnett. Music by Levi Van Scoik. Ribbit Inhibitor by The Frogs.